Jonathan Majors didn't have a shot. They wanted that guilty verdict on him. Dang, and they manufactured it. And what's going to be done about it?
You know I couldn't wait for this one. Corey Holcomb drops bombs on the Jonathan Majors conviction.
What is that in his hand?
Called the book. I mean, the Bible that he was carrying the whole time. And then of course... his lawyer said that Majors still has faith in the process and looks forward to fully clearing his name. His sentencing is set for February 6th, and the maximum set for the assault conviction only is a year. So.
All right. So y'all ready for this?
That's the max he could get.
Yeah, that's the max he can get for that. I don't know if they're going to give him anything for everything else.
That's the skinny that's out there for the mainstream. But if you do the research on this, everybody who has something to do with law was saying, I can't believe a misdemeanor was even brought to trial. They say this stuff rarely makes it to trial.
It's like somebody wanted him. Somebody wanted to get him.
Yeah, no, there's a guy who runs the office down there. I can't think of his name. Anybody who does the research, will you please put up there the name of the dude office?
What, like the DAs?
Yeah, who made this happen? It's a Stephen A. Smith type.
Yeah, a couple of my friends in the law actually said the exact same thing. Like, there's no way this should have been brought to trial. It was definitely politically motivated, and there's a lot of crazy stuff that's going on in New York State right now.
Discussion about who exactly brought the Jonathan Majors case into a courtroom, because you have to realize these are misdemeanor charges. It is unusual that these types of charges will go to trial, and this thing went to trial. But I think something is going on in the Manhattan DA's office. Since it was taken over by Alvin Bragg, there appears to be a difference in policy, and you can see that in 3 different cases. Interestingly enough, Priya Chaudhry, the attorney for Jonathan Majors, defense attorney, did a pretty exhaustive interview with Roland Martin. She could not talk at all about the Majors case because there's a gaggle. What you hear her referring to in this case is not referring to the Majors case. It's referring to the case of Adam Foss, who was acquitted on November 3rd. And something is going on with this office, I think, with the Manhattan DA's office. As I sat in court last week, 2 prosecutors you could see, 2 assistant DAs, Michael Perez and Kelly Galloway, were arguing the case. The reason I say that I think there's something broader going on is that the evidence in the Majors case doesn't add up to something that should have made it into a courtroom. And particularly when you have video of someone running down the street who's supposed to be some terrible perpetrator of something, and he's running down the street away from the person accusing him. I don't think anybody's ever seen that before in a case.
That's what I'm getting at.
It's a brother.
They hire niggas now to prosecute, like Stephen A. Smith talk about black men on TV. But with Giddy, it's like, oh, you don't know what happened. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Listen, this is what you need to know about this case. The woman got arrested. They don't even arrest women, especially.
Talking about that guy?
Hold on. I think that's him.
Alvin Bragg.
What's the name?
Alvin Bragg? Manhattan's first black district attorney. I don't know now. He's just one of them.
Yeah, no, that's him.
Manhattan's first.
Yeah, it says here that Jabari was arrested on misdemeanor charges of assault and criminal mischief in relation to the dispute in October. Yeah, I didn't even realize that she was arrested. I knew that he was also arrested. In June, the Loki actor filed his own domestic violence complaint against Jabari, which he claimed she had assaulted him and caused him to bleed after scratching and slapping and grabbing at his face. Jabari was arrested on misdemeanor charges of assault and criminal mischief in relation to the dispute in October. So they've been having a tumultuous relationship this whole time.
They arrested her. The officers came and arrested her. This is what you need to know about that Jonathan Majors case.
What are you talking about? When she was drunk, lean, and like knocked out in his own closet.
They showed the bitch, they got video of the bitch chasing him.
So it doesn't seem that they arrested her on that one that we have the video of, but she has been arrested in the past, which, you know, bolsters Corey's claim here is like, what is this woman doing? Why is Jonathan still around this woman? And she's struck him. They've had altercations multiple times, and she has been arrested in the past. You know what I mean? Like, you got to take a clue, man.
Down the street.
That was ridiculous. Right. I was like, okay, good. He's out.
This is what you need to know about this case.
I'm like, how you hurt and you chasing that man?
And it's so terrible when you think about it, but it's just you need to know what's happening. None of the evidence against the woman was allowed in the courtroom.
Jesus.
None of the evidence they had showing what she did was allowed in the courtroom. They said, we don't care what she did. Even though she got arrested, they didn't want to prosecute her. What the kind of world is this? You know what they called her? The survivor.
Wow.
They was calling the bitch the survivor in the courtroom. This bitch was dancing, wound up drunk where Jonathan Majors was supposed to be, so he went and got a hotel because he didn't want no drama.
See, he did stay away from her.
That was a smart move. That's about the best move that Jonathan Majors ever made. When he saw her there, he went and got a hotel room and got away from her. I mean, there's a couple other missteps here that we can pin on Jonathan as far as having bad judgment in this situation, but him calling the cops, I think he thought he was getting in front of it and potentially, you know, not having to deal with the backlash that he's now dealing with. Based on the things he was going through, it lets me know that Jonathan doesn't have a lot of good people around him that could have told him what this woman was about. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of unfortunate. I mean, would he have listened to them? You know, would he have thought they were haters or whatever? But that's why it's good to have good counsel. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people are isolated in these days and they just suffer through domestic abuse situations. And, you know, they be like, yo, you got a lot to lose. You don't need to be in a situation where you could potentially end up in a domestic altercation with this woman. If that's happening and that's my homie, I'm telling him, yo, dog, you need to get the hell away from her. I would have probably read it from the beginning because I'd be like, where'd you meet her? Or you met her on set? I don't think you should be pursuing a relationship with a chick that you met on set like that. That's not one of the leads, because you a lead. It had come up written all over it. But if Jonathan isn't open to that type of information, if he doesn't have those type of people around him, he'll never make that decision. And he'll end up where he is 10 out of 10 times.
He didn't want no drama, and they found him guilty. Anybody who been through the court system, you ain't surprised. You already know what the court system is. Court system hang you, dog. If you got money, you normally can beat it. But if you in the courtroom, hope Brother Majors is listening to this. If you in the courtroom and you was a Caucasian woman, motherfucker, you ain't got no rights. Them motherfuckers don't hang your ass. They don't even pursue these types of cases. It was a misdemeanor.
Yes, and do you know what this is what I believe.
They said, we don't give what evidence you got on this bitch. We using this evidence against him, and we gonna motherfucking make it what we want to make it. And a nigga was in charge of this.
Yeah, that can't be lost. The fact that a black man is a DA and has this thing out for other black men, that cannot be lost. And he should be called to task for this. I don't know who Alvin Bragg is as a prosecutor or his history in New York State. But from what I'm seeing, based on those other two cases, the Kevin Porter Jr. case, and, you know, that his girlfriend came out and said, yo, he didn't do it. But the young lady that was his ADA, his assistant district attorney, made that case. She basically put words into the girl's mouth to make it go further into the process, to accuse him of a crime. There's a lot of corruption going on in that district attorney's office, allegedly. It doesn't look good.
Now that dude who you said, he black, right? But guess what? The jury was all Caucasian, except for one black lady. And you ought to see what she had to say when they asked her about the jury, about the verdict. She did this. Yes.
Wow.
Oh, they broke her down. Dang it.
Homie, let me tell you something, man. That dude was done.
When we gonna learn we're not one of them?
Nothing is more crooked than cops and the judicial system. That's the most crooked organization in the history of humanity. Is broke folks with power. And if you get somebody broke, power, they're going to abuse it. Look at all these offices held by people who come from nothing. They're manipulating the money of every village and city that they're in. Jonathan Majors didn't have a shot. They wanted that guilty verdict on him, and they manufactured it. And what's going to be done about it?
What's going to be done?
I'm not taking up for him.
Nothing.
I don't know Jonathan Majors like that, but I am afraid to ever be in the system because I know what they can do. They can do whatever they want to do. They offered him a settlement. The settlement would have had it where he was just admitting.
Had to plead guilty.
Yeah. See, Jonathan Majors had a lot at stake with that deal with Universal.
I don't think he means Universal. I think he means Disney.
Universal, that was his ticket out of having to be on the 5150 show. Now he got to come do the little podcast and sit in there with motherfuckers. So Jonathan, what happened to you, man? What happened? Jonathan, you didn't do that, did you, Jonathan?
We never know. Hey, maybe he
Unprofessional motherfuckers who get paid by the system to motherfuckers have a podcast. Now you got to, Jonathan, you got to be out here with the bootleg press now.
You know, it might be good for him to get out to the people. You know what I'm saying? He's got to build his black base back. I mean, I don't think black people had a problem with Jonathan Majors, but sometimes there's mainstream actors and then there's people who come from the community and are supported by the community. And it's important to have that support. I've always talked about that in entertainment. As a black artist, as a black actor, black comedian, if you don't have a black base, you're vulnerable. You're vulnerable to rug pulls, basically people that can take away something and then you don't have anything. You know, having a core black audience for a black artist, or if you're Latino, a Latino base, is very, you know, important for you to move through in entertainment. Yo, that was hilarious, man. But, you know, some good points were raised about this case and the implications going further. You know, the fact that I'm going to keep pressing the point that he should have seen the warning signs here. How long have they even been together that they were in this much drama? You know, they talk about this toxic relationships like it's cute, like it's something that to attain in this generation, but I ain't never been a fan of that. I'd much rather walk away than even have a physical altercation with a woman. And this was nothing. So he was playing that game. Let us not forget that. And, you know, we still supported him when it came to him getting railroaded in court. I want him to notice that. I want him to make sure he notices the support that we have for him, even though we had a difference of opinion on that, and even though you were chastising a lot of the people that would say something about what they were doing to you, what it was representing, or, you know, how you were being used. That goes back to the support, having a support base. If you don't have that community behind you, I mean, think about it. Denzel Washington, even Will Smith to a certain extent, had a lot of support from his community as a base, and it allows him to go out into the mainstream and be successful with this support behind him. You know, as Corey said, this case will be historic in a way. I wouldn't be surprised if there isn't an appeal, you know, because I think this could have been a mistrial. And he talked about that one black juror. I didn't find the video. I couldn't find the video of her, you know, hanging her head in shame or whatever. But I don't know, if you're in that position, it's your responsibility. If you think this is wrong, not to roll over and just go with the majority. You can almost push a mistrial if you are dissenting, you know, because they all have to come up with a unanimous decision, basically, that he is guilty, you know, in order for these charges to go. But this is a misdemeanor. These are 2 misdemeanors now that we're talking about. This hit national news, derailed a man's career. So I guess it is important for us to take jury duty seriously and not try to avoid it. We should be able to, you know, show up at these jury selections. But it wasn't an accident that the jury was 95% Caucasian. Yeah, it was not an accident. That was very purposeful, so they could get this outcome. But either way, if you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification for all uploads. If you want to watch more, please watch one of these videos down below. This is Faucette Media.